So now you have established urgency with the why now slide, but it is now crucial to really point out the market size. So it's really time right now for the market slide. And this takes a little bit longer because the market slide is, as I mentioned before, one of the most important slides next to the team slide, especially at an early stage for VC investors. So what the market slide actually does, it shows really that your business, that your startup can become really big and then it has the potential to really scale. So this is what you really want to show with that slide. Before you, nevertheless, really focus on calculating your TAM, which is actually the measurement on how your market is going to be big in the future, it is crucial that you really understand your customers. So this is also what is called customer obsession. And what you really want to do is you want to first do market segmentation. So you want to brainstorm with your team. You want to really have a good mind map of what could be your potential markets in the future. Usually you choose between 4 to 10 markets. I wouldn't choose less than 4 because that really avoids you or limits you in your optionality. But I also wouldn't choose more than 10 because that's getting too broad. After having your market segment, obviously the most important step, and this is actually the most important step overall in understanding your customer, is really to doing primary market research or customer discovery. So what you're going to do is you're going to go out and visit a customer. There are different methods which will not be explained in this workshop, but there will be other workshops which explain those methods. But you need to understand the pain points of your customer. This is really important. Without that, you are not able to go to the next step, which is selecting a beachhead market. When you understood the pain points of your customer, you really make sure you're going to choose the beachhead market where the need and the pain is really the strongest. So where you really have a great chance to dominate that market because your problem is exactly solving a pain point or a need the customer is facing. What you do when focusing on the beachhead market is you usually select the beachhead market, which is between 50 to 150 million US dollars. And don't worry about it. It's a small market and you might ask the question, usually VCs require me to have like a 1 billion TAM plus. Yes, that's correct. But usually what a lot of startups forget is you need to have a sound and a logic behind why you choose the beachhead market. So most of the VCs will not expect you to go right away into the really high TAM markets because obviously competition is going to be very strong in those markets. So rather start with a slower market, but then you really have to explain to the VCs how you get from the smaller market to the larger market in the future. So you want to start with a 50 to 150 million TAM market, and then you expand to different TAMs, which at the end have like a 1 billion plus TAM in total. Those are the steps you really need to consider when understanding your customer. So, but for now, let's go and see how you really can calculate the TAM size of your market. So how you calculate the TAM is actually a pretty simple analysis, but obviously there was a lot of research and work you did before. That's why it's usually a longer process. But at the end, it's just like the number you give and you provide obviously some explanations why you chose that market. So first of all, you identify the number of end users in your market, and you do that by always following a bottom-up analysis. Only in some cases, a top-down analysis makes sense, but usually you don't want to rely on the data from consultancy companies because it already shows, first of all, you are not the person who really understands the pain point and the customer. And second, somebody else has already done that. So this is a bad sign for potential VC investors because you should be the first person who really understood that problem. You have this unique insight. So you do a bottom-up analysis, you identify the number of end users in your market, then you estimate the revenues that you can make for each end user on an annual basis. This is really important. And then finally, you multiply those two numbers, and this is what gives you your analyzed TAM and revenues per expected customer group within that market segment. Besides those factors, you're also going to watch at other factors, and you mentioned them to the VC investors, which could be market dynamics, for example, a compound annual growth rate, and it could be also policies or regulations. So what is important for AI startups in that slide? Well, if you take a look at this one here, you can see you really have to understand and relate your customer obsession to your AI technology. And you do that by, for example, asking, is it easy to implement your product or your service into the customer's workflow? So really related to your AI technology, which could be the collection and the labeling of data. Second, do customers need external support or consulting? So if they require help, can you offer that? Can you offer that service? Do they need to purchase that from a different provider? This is important to understand. And how do you target your customers usually buy? So this is really important. So what is your strategy on getting the customer really to purchase your product? And how are they really purchasing the product right now? This is important to consider. Finally, what existing other AI solutions are available in the market? This is what you also need to understand, because that really shows that you understand the market. And finally, I mentioned that one before, make sure you really understand and you explain how you get from your beachhead market into larger follow-on markets, because obviously we want to see in that slide that your business and your startup has the potential to really scale and become the next big thing. This is what you need to consider when analyzing and when conducting your market slide creation.